Hello and welcome to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay and today I'm going to be looking at some basic builds for the speeder bikes and the ATST for the Star Wars Imperials, for the Imperials for Star Wars Legion. I have done the Stormtroopers and Darth Vader. There'll be a link to one of them up there, or there as we do say in this part of the world. And yes, the reason I'm combining the two is because there's not that much to say about specifically the speeder bikes, because they can only take one upgrade. So let's delve into the matter and we'll just have a look at the speeder bikes as a whole and what they can take, and we'll just do pros and cons of the speeder bikes on the holistic side of things. So the speeder bikes, they can only take the comm upgrade. You get 2 of them for 90 points. They've got 3 wounds each. They've got they're immune to resilience because they're like a vehicle, but they don't have resilience. They've got white defense dice, but they do have a surge on both the attack and defense. They've got the holdout blaster, which you can do 360, which is 2 black dice, and they've got the blaster cannon, which is 3 dice with impact 1 of each coloured dice. Obviously if there's 2 of you, you get double, and you actually will have impact 2 if there's 2 of you, which makes it pretty decent. The long range comm link, that basically lets you get issued orders when you're outside of the range of your commander. The comm channel stops anybody apart from the commander themselves issuing orders to anybody within range 1. So that the pros, you've got some seriously fast flanking because it has I never mentioned the abilities. It's got cover 1, so it's always got at least 1 cover unless something is getting rid of that for somehow. It's speeder 1, which is pretty good, apart from it means it does have to do a compulsory move, but you ignore any height 1 or lower. As I said, it's good for flanking pretty much, and flanking we mean getting around obstacles and barricades and that kind of thing to give yourself clear shots at the target, which is going to reduce your opponent's cover, so you're more likely to do damage. Fair enough. Impact 1, it's basically impact 2 if you've got 2 of you shooting, and you get 2 with the unit. I've put good surges and cover 1. Obviously that's good surges, I just can't type. The cons, you've got that compulsory move that does make it hard to position. Maybe you're going to end up being in a place where you don't want to be and be the only unit that gets shot. You've not got armor even though you're a vehicle, so normal hits can and will kill you, and you've only got limited loadout options, which is on that side of the screen right there. I mean, that pretty much covers it from my point of view. The limited loadout option does mean it'll be, if they ever come back and say, oh, the speeder bikes are a little underpowered, they're not really going to be able to fix them very easily, so we'll see what happens with that. But I'm not a huge fan of the speeder bikes because I don't like how hard they are to position, but I think once you're on a full table, having that decent chance of flanking could actually be important. For 90 points, I'd say they're okay. But that's pretty much the speeder bikes done and dusted for now, and we'll look at the ATST as a whole. It does have armor. It's got Arsenal 2, which means it can fire 2 weapons in the same turn. It's got a weak point at the rear, but not really a problem. It's 195 points. It's a ground vehicle, 11 wounds, 8 resilience, white defense dice, a defensive surge. It can take a pilot, 3 weapon upgrades, and the comm thing, that the comm upgrade. It's got a decent melee attack, and it's got the twin blaster cannon, which is range 1 to 4, which is really good, and impact 3, so quite good against vehicles. All in all, I actually think it's pretty okay. The only downside is that it's a lot of points. It's like a quarter of your army. So these are all the upgrades that the ATST can take. It's got both the comms, as we were just saying, same as the last one. Going back to the speeder bikes and this, they're both decent enough for flanking. They do slightly different things. I don't really think either's that relevant on the ATST, but maybe there's an obscure list where it makes sense. As for the weapons, we've got the concussion grenade launcher, the twin light blaster cannon, the mortar launcher, and the final piece to the puzzle is General Weiss. He gives Arsenal 2, but it is exhausted. Arsenal 2 from him and Arsenal 2 on the card does stack and adds up to Arsenal 4. So in theory, you can fire 4 times in one turn. You'd have to re-exhaust him or ready him, but you can do. As for the weapons, I favour one of them, and we'll get onto which one right about now Fonso brother. So it's 210 points with the grenade, the concussion grenade launcher. The reason I like this as opposed to say the others is that blast. So the twin light blaster cannon, that's basically like it's like a poor version of the twin blaster cannon, I guess. Like you get one of each dice instead of two of each dice. It's range 1 to 3 and you get impact 1. It's 20 points. I'm not 100% sure why that one is so expensive in comparison to, say, the others. Like the extra 1 range, I'd rather have the 2 black dice with blast, I think. Like I'm not convinced about the twin light blaster cannon as a card. Basically, I sort of understand the purpose of the mortar launcher because it's range 4+. Like anywhere on the table, you'll have to have line of sight, but that's fine. You've got your suppressive, so if you do fight somebody like an infantry unit or something, they're going to have 2 suppression tokens on them, presuming you roll a hit or a wound, a hit or a crit. Just on your rolls, it doesn't actually have to cause it. Although I think as a weapon, after you perform an attack, the defender that has that this weapon was used against, so it just gains it without even rolling anything. They just definitely get at least 1, probably and possibly 2. Yeah, I sort of see the purpose on that one, but it's range 4+, so whether or not you actually get to use it that often is questionable. So I'm not a fan of the twin light blaster cannon. The others I sort of see a purpose for, and as you can see here, my one first build, 210 points, taking that concussion grenade launcher. I like that blast. It's just fabulous as a whole. The blast, say, from the rebel troopers with the Z6 trooper who's got like adding 6 extra dice. If you've got a concussion grenade, you could be getting like 11 dice on that, all ignoring cover at range 1. Ooh, that would be pretty damn sweet. In this case, you don't have 11 dice, but you are at range 2 as well, which is pretty advantageous because basically if you fire both of them at the same unit, all the attacks in that attack pool gain access to the keywords, so they would all gain blast. Pretty sweet. And I say it's cheap for an ATST. Obviously 210 points is still quite a lot. It is a quarter of your army pretty much. And whether or not it's going to recoup those points in 6 turns is interesting. I think the fact that it's also a big target is both a good and a bad thing. Like it can soak the punishment up, but it is obviously a target, so it can get disabled by ion tokens and stuff like that. But I think if you just put this, say, like right near an objective, right near something you really like, a point on the board you really want to control, and you're just gonna stand there, aim and shoot every turn, boom. I like it personally, but we'll see how competitive they end up being. That 8 dice at blast range 2, all ignoring cover. That's an infantry killer right there and then. So that's, for me, if you're taking 1 upgrade, because don't forget you can fire both, so they can fire that and that. You could also do your melee attack and a different weapon if, say, you're at range like 0, like you're in base contact. But all in all, obviously you're going to want to have your range attack, so it makes sense to take at least 1 range weapon if you're taking the ATST, I think. And I think that one's the best one. Swiftly and briefly, onto the second build. Now, this one interests me, but the fact that it's 250 points puts me right off. So, when I say it's got big impact, so because General Reese is there, you'll be able to have, all 4 of the weapons attack on some turns. You need to ready him, but in theory, you could say move up the board first, maybe shoot that turn. And then next turn, aim, fire. Then the next turn, ready, fire. And then the next turn, ready, fire. And you could be shooting all 4 in the same every turn, pretty much. And I just feel like that's a lot of dice. There's a lot of attacking power coming out there. Obviously, it's a lot of point investment when you can be, screwed up by ion tokens and that kind of thing. But it's such a possible big impact that if you use it well, I feel like it can turn the tide of the game in your favor. The downside is if you stand at the back of the board and you don't really do much, or you just get unlucky on your dice, it might be quite difficult to recoup the points that you've put in. It is the same as last time. It's a big target though, even bigger now, but it does soak up the punishment with that 8 resilience, pretty decent. this one would bring 11 dice. Because you would have the twin light blaster cannon, you would have 11 dice at range 1 or 2, all ignoring cover, and that's a very interesting proposition for me, as I really feel like cover is very strong, and anything that negates cover is strong also in that sense. This is the full Monty build, the man from Del Monte. That makes no sense, but what have you. And the main problem with it is that General Reese gets exhausted, but it depends how much you want that aim. If you want to aim and shoot, then you're going to have a problem, because you're going to have to aim, shoot, ready, maybe just shoot with the rest of your weapons, and then aim, shoot next turn. It's possible, and there's some stuff out there that will make sense, depending on the game type. But I think these are really the only two builds that I would personally mess about with. Either take one, probably the grenade launch, because I think it's the best, or take everything. And I'm not really leaning forward to the take everything approach, but I'm going to run it at least once. It looks super powerful on paper, doesn't it? You've got a lot of dice every turn, you take a lot of punishment, you've got at least 8 wounds before you have any negative effects, you've got armor. Yeah, you're weak at your rear, but that would require some serious flanking depending where you put him, I should say. And once we get rears and that kind of thing, then is it going to be even more interesting? So for me, you've got 2 builds, but let me know if you agree or disagree with that as a concept. We've done now pretty much everything in the Imperial, from the core set and Wave 1. The only things that we're going to have after this will be Vias and the Snow Trooper, which I sort of want to see more of the cards first, especially for Vias. I think there's a few where I'm not sure we've seen the full thing. I'll have to do a bit of research actually, because I've been concentrating mainly on the things that are available. The next thing we're probably going to be doing will be lists. So we'll do maybe a list that you can make from the core set and one of everything, and then we'll maybe try and ramp up the competitiveness of it, pick the Z6 Trooper over the MPL or whatever it ends up being. We'll start stacking the odds in our favour, kind of thing. That's the wrong franchise, isn't it? I guess Never Tell Me the Odds is more the right franchise, but doesn't really work in this sense. So let me know your thoughts on what I've just shown, the basic builds for these two, and subscribe, and as ever, have a most beautiful, beautiful day. Bye, guys.